Hello? Yep. Yeah? Yeah, hi, I'm Tom Bowden. I'm the current community officer here at the Students' Union. I graduated last July with a degree in sports promotion and marketing. So this year, in my role as community officer, I've done as much as I can to try and make student life better for you. And one of the main things that I've done is listen to what students think, what they want to do, and I've taken that into my manifesto for next year as well. So, cheers.
Thanks, Tom. You go, Amanda.
Hi, my name is Ornella Cordini. I'm a music. Are you good? I'm a music technology course rep, and I'm also part of the BAME Ambassadors team. The 4 points of my manifesto are: listen, we'll hold monthly open sessions to make sure that for student feedback, to make sure that the student support is the best it can be, and the SU support. Sorry, I'll say that again. Listen, the nerves are getting there. Sorry. So listen, we will hold monthly open sessions for student feedback, and in order for the student voice to be heard and the SU support to be the best it can be. Build, we will strengthen not only the different communities, but also organize more fused events between schools and societies. Support, we will provide more services to help international, BAME, EU, LGBTQ, or anyone who feels needed. Help, we will create a stronger volunteer base at the university to make sure that we're helping more the outside communities and the students by building their cities where their studies actually come into hand. Thank you.
Thanks, Ornella. Now, Karen.
Hi, so I'm Kieran Easter. I'm a third year drama student, and I'm deeply involved in the Students' Union as it is. I work as a future leader, and at the moment I'm organising an event to celebrate diversity on campus and bring students together with student speakers and performers. I've been part of accountability panels and held officers to account, elected officers to account, so I know what being an officer involves, and I feel like I'm well prepared to go into this role because I know what it's about. I volunteered for Freshers Fairs and registered to campaign and getting students to sign up, register to campaign, register to vote, because democracy is the biggest tool that any union can have, and I think if students have their say, then we progress as a community together, and we celebrate the things that we are proud of, and we really kind of just come together and create a big community. I really care about the environment, so one of my manifesto points is the environmental care pack. So during Freshers Week and your Freshers bag, you'll get a pack to tell you how to cut down on your carbon footprint, to make yourself greener, and I want to make all materials from the food outlets 100% recyclable. I also care about student voice, so I want to set up focus groups with the local council so that students' voices are heard within the local community, not just at the Students' Union. And I want to bring the prices of rent down as well, because students on the lowest loan sometimes have to work 2 jobs on top of the studies, and obviously your studies then kind of depreciate, and yeah, you have to work 3 times as hard. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. And now, Maddie.
Hi everyone, my name is Maddie Longton, and I'm an international student from California. I've been here for quite a while now. I'm currently getting my master's here, but I also happen to get my bachelor's at this university. So in the time that I've spent here, despite being a foreigner to this country, I've really come to view Huddersfield as my home. I've actually also been a community volunteer here for 3 years, helping organizations across Kirklees host community events that have benefited thousands of people. I also was a community volunteer back in California for 4 years, cleaning beaches and helping my friends set up a charity that made a national difference. I also think that I have really good experience for this role because I've worked in the Students' Union for a year now as a course rep assistant for MHM. So I've helped students and course reps across the school make really good changes on their courses. There are 4 issues that I really want to implement, and tackle in this role if I get elected. The first one is local activism, and that's the most important to me because I feel that students really have the potential to make a massive difference in the local community. I also care about employability, making sure that everyone gets a placement. I also care about commuter appreciation because we have a massive commuter population here on campus and they really need our support. And the final one is student safety. I think that students on campus and in the community are very worried about, integrating with the public, and I want them to feel that this is a safe place for them as well.
Thanks, Maddie. So now we're moving on to the second part. We're going to ask you 5 questions, but it's going to be alternate for each question who's going to answer first. So for the first question, I'm going to start with Ornella, and then we're going to keep moving. So what steps will you take to help Huddersfield students feel at home in the local community?
Hello? Oh, it's working now. Okay, so when it comes to feeling part of the community, so I had lots of experience just not traveling in my life. For example, when I was 15, I moved to Germany for 4 years, and I've been living here for 2 years now. So I know what it's like to not feel integrated in the community. That experience helped me understand what are all the different things that we can do. For example, make events and fuse them and just talk more to each other and create a bond with every person, remembering that everyone is unique and that you should never limit yourself to only maybe get along with one group of people because you only have interests in common with them, but being open to the opportunity that there is always something that the other one can offer us and that the other one can teach us and that we can learn from that and build and just become a stronger community thanks to that. So, yeah.
Thanks, Ornella. Karen?
Hello? Yeah. So I've been going around Huddersfield and speaking to the staff that are working within the town. And one of the things that they've brought to my attention and that I kind of agree with as well is it's a lot of us and them and us. And we need more events that integrate the two. So we need to have more events in the town centre and on campus that long-time residents of Huddersfield can attend to. And we need to make sure that in the union we're promoting events that are going on in the local community that are relevant to us and that we can get involved in to kind of stop this separation. Also, so we have a lot of students of different religions, a diverse student body, and students should be and going out and speaking to, for example, Muslims in the local community and going to worship at the same mosques and getting together and that's something that I want to kind of push. More events at local places of worship that uni students can get involved with as well.
Thanks, Karen. Maddie?
Well, I agree with Kieran. We have an extremely diverse student population, and that's something that needs to be very appreciated. I've come to find, though, that as a student union, we can do a lot more to represent areas of our student population that aren't being integrated. Like I said, commuters. They come to our campus and they leave, and they don't have any time or any ability to integrate with other students. They're not making friends. We can do something to change that by giving them abilities to stay here, by maybe installing lockers on campus, which I know we've wanted for a long time, but it can happen. Or maybe even parking allowances so they feel that they can stay here longer and hang out with their friends while they're here. Another thing that I really want to look at in terms of building a stronger community is helping our international students. When I first came here as a first year, I didn't know anybody. It was incredibly hard to meet people, especially because I was also a commuter at that point as well. I think if we do more to allow our international students to mix and to meet people, then we can really benefit from that. And one of the ways we can do that is by allowing students to become a part of local charity, like fundraising organizations. When you're helping your local community, you become a part of that community. And I think if students have more access to those opportunities, they will become a part of Huddersfield.
Thanks, Maddie. Tom?
Yeah, so for me, to make students feel more at home, you've actually got to start at their home. So one thing I want to do is work with landlords to make student houses more like homes, so they're more suitable for students who are care leavers, who have dependents or have families to look after. So instead they might have to travel a long way and aren't able to kind of engage with the students' union because of the time they have to take with their dependents. If we could make student houses a lot more family friendly, make them a lot more homey, that would be a really, really good stepping stone in that direction. Other than that, I want to make our events that we do host in Huddersfield a lot more accessible and a lot more inclusive. So a lot of our events we host are up at Stalls Hall, which can be a deterrent for some students as it's quite far away from campus to get to. So I want to bring our events into town centre, use what we have at places such as Greenhead Park, which is a massive space that we don't use currently at the moment, and host events that do celebrate the individuality of our students, like Hood Pride. I want to create a Hood Pride because I think it's a bit annoying how our students want to celebrate their individuality of their sexuality and such forth, but they have to go to Leeds or Manchester to do that. So I want to bring Hood Pride into Huddersfield and celebrate as much as we can.
Thanks, Tom. Now the second question, and we're starting with Karen this time. How do you plan to help community students, being those who live in their own or their parents' homes rather than student accommodation, feel a sense of belonging on campus?
So I think at the moment our career services is doing such a great job in kind of, because I at the moment don't know what I want to do after uni. Obviously, hopefully get elected, but I feel as though students at the moment are kind of, because a lot of the job opportunities and stuff are focused around Huddersfield. So if we get more community students to kind of come onto campus, speak to careers, and we can kind of offer them more advice in their local community as well. So not just kind of around Huddersfield, but in their local community as well. And I feel as though lockers are a really good idea because a lot of students want to join sports clubs, but you've got to lug a bag around all day with you, and you've got nowhere to keep it. You don't want to take it into lectures and seminars. So having lockers is a really good thing to kind of, so you can place your bags down, go about your day, come back, pick it up, go to your sports club, and then take it home on at night. So you don't have to lug it about all day with you.
Thanks, Karen. Maddie?
Well, as I said previously, I do have very clear-cut ideas for what I want to do for commuting students, including lockers and parking allowances if possible. But I do think placements are very crucial. I've learned that as an international student, and that was one of the things that I valued the most about my education here, because I recognize that a degree is not enough anymore. And for a commuting student to get a placement at all is tricky. So as someone who does have a lot of links with local communities and local organizations, I want to speak to business owners and provide more placements in Huddersfield if possible, with a diversity of backgrounds as well, so that all of the placements available aren't just in one industry, which in a lot of cases is happening. So I would work hand in hand with Career Service and try and offer a lot more opportunities for students in general.
Thanks, Maddie. Tom?
Can you repeat the question?
That's fine. Anytime you want me to repeat the question, just let me know. So the question is, how do you plan to help community students feel a sense of belonging on campus?
Yeah, so in order to feel a sense of belonging on campus, we need to represent the whole of campus as a students' union. At the moment, as a students' union, we are in Student Central, but we're not actually in the centre of University campus. As campus is growing, we are growing more down to Queen Street and through that side of campus, so we need to start having a presence all over campus and showing what we do as a students' union all over campus rather than just up at this top end. So if we can start getting our voice in the students' union into each different school and into the other side of campus, we can then engage them students and display what we do and how we can help them and how we can engage all those students throughout the whole of campus instead of just up here and in a very select few of students.
Thanks, Tom. Ornella?
Thank you. So Actually, last year I wasn't as involved with the student union. I was just concentrated on my course basically, and just didn't know how hard it was gonna be the first year, right? So this year I really got involved with the university, and I don't know, the comparison is just all the many people I met, all the connections I ended up finding. Like, for example, I'm part of the volleyball team, and I'm a BEM ambassador, and I'm a course rep, and I'm in the Hispanic society, European society, so many things, so many different communities, completely different from each other. But I think it's really important to create, as I said, fused school events and fused society events, because the problem is that when it comes to students, the students don't know what is going on in campus. They don't know all the possibilities that they have. We need to advertise them way more. And another way to advertise that is if we create fused events that are intriguing, different, original, then people would want to see what that is about if it's not something that happens every day. And so that's what I think, the way in which I would make sure that everyone feels integrated.
Thanks, Ornella. So now we're moving on to the third question, and this time starting with Maddie. What about student housing? How do you hope to represent students to improve housing available in Huddersfield?
Student housing is a topic that's incredibly important to me. Something that not a lot of people know is that in my second year of university, I was actually homeless for a short time, because for international students, finding reliable housing, gaining financial support in those sorts of situations is incredibly difficult at times. It's very important to me that we have emergency funds for all students, so that if they have a situation where they're struggling to pay for their rent or pay for food, that they have access to those funds. But in terms of housing especially, when I did find a home to live in my second year, that landlord was a criminal. He was a horrible person. Students should not have to encounter those sorts of situations when they're young. We're only kids. We shouldn't have to deal with criminals on the streets. We should have enough support from the Students' Union and the university to make sure that no student is ever put in that sort of situation. So I would make sure that we have a vetting service available for landlords, and that we give very strong advice to any student coming in, saying this is what is a safe place for you and this is what isn't. In terms of also housing, I find, as someone new to this town, for people who don't get student loans, the housing is incredibly expensive. So perhaps there are ways that we can support students who are on a very low income to make sure that they are living in a comfortable and safe place.
Thanks, Maddie. Tom? Repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
So it's about student housing. How do you hope to represent students to improve the housing available in Huddersfield?
Yeah, so when you say availability, we've actually got more than enough houses and beds available in Huddersfield. We've actually got twice as many beds available in Huddersfield as students who need the beds, because we've got about 51% commuter students. So what I'm aiming to do is, as we move forward, there's more and more student accommodation getting placed in Huddersfield. So me and Hudlets are going to work together to kind of work with Kirklees Council and slow down the rate that student accommodation is getting placed in Huddersfield. It's taking up more and more space and adding more and more beds. And that's taken away from the student experience. So the student experience should be that you are living in a friendly environment and a comfortable environment, and not on your own and isolated away from other people, where you could be if you are staying on your own in a flat which can accommodate 8 other people. And we do also have more than enough studio apartments available as well for those who do want that kind of alone space to live. There are more than enough beds available. So alongside my family housing, I want to try and kind of improve the student experience by filling the beds that we already have available. And in this tight student housing market, there isn't a lot of room to reduce the pricing. So my area is to increase the student experience by filling what we have already.
Thanks, Tom. Ornella?
Hi, so this is a topic, renting and making the prices be lower is a topic that I mean, I talked about, I think, my entire life with my mother. Yes, I know. She just loves everything that has to do with making buildings that are, sorry about my voice, making buildings that are capable of just being really low cost for then the people that are then afterwards going to rent them. They don't have to have so many debts or have to pay so much or have to ask the bank for so much money. So basically, my idea is that to create a different type of housing that is basically made with containers. It will be a really big kind of scheme, basically, but this is like a way in which in Latin America already we build houses, we build enormous buildings, and it's so cheap to create it and to move it around. You can even afterwards move the house around, even after it's being constructed, because it's a container. And another idea I thought about was basically creating another type of transport, for example, that could take a really large amount of students, but not just a bus that takes half an hour to go from one place to the other, or a bus that is not running 24 hours a day, because that's another problem. I have lots of friends that, for example, are in Storrs Hall, and they've been studying till like 12 p.m., and then they would end up crashing at my house because they just can't walk an hour to go all the way to their place. I will work also with Headless to try figure out which of all these ideas are possible to make, even if they're in a big scale, because we can start it and I don't have to finish it up. Another officer can do it. But it's important to start a really cheap cost for living, thinking that we are already paying a tuition for going to university, which in other countries they don't even have to think about that, and they just worry about the rent. So yeah.
I want to do a massive study into the average loan that we get as students and the average price of student housing in Huddersfield. And I want to work with HUDlets, local estate agents, private landlords to take the findings to them and say, look, students cannot afford to be paying £120, £125 in some cases for accommodation while studying at Huddersfield. As I said, a lot of students do get the lower end of the loan, so they can't afford to live. And I know it's possible to bring down the prices of rent, because the current accommodation that I'm in, it was £105 last year, and HUDlets then took that down and took that to them and said, look, it's too expensive, and they brought that down by £15 a week. So it's now £90 a week instead of £105. So it is possible to go out there and reduce rent prices, and I'll be working with local estate agents and landlords to do that. Also, HUDlets do an amazing service, and you can go to HUDlets with any issue that you have, and they will advise you on how to go about kind of solving that issue. But not a lot of people think, oh, we've got an estate agent on campus, we'll go to them, we'll seek advice. So I want to implement drop-in sessions with HUDlets, just for a couple of hours a week, where students can come, sit with HUDlets and talk through any issues that they might have with the landlord, how they can go about fighting about the deposit, if anyone's taking something unfairly from the deposit. So drop-in sessions and studies on students and loans to work out an average of what the housing prices should be like in Huddersfield for students.
Thanks, Karen. Now moving on to the fourth question, and this time starting with Tom. What ideas do you have for developing volunteering opportunities for students?
Yeah, so volunteering is a big passion of mine, and something that I think we can improve and do need to improve at the SU, because what we offer for volunteering wise, it's not exactly working, it's not engaging as many students as it possibly could. So something I want to do is work with the academic societies, which are kind of slowly getting timetabled into people's timetables, and then work with them to be able to put on course-related volunteering opportunities that are timetabled into their course, so it's kind of already there work experience for them to kind of soak up. And then alongside that, something that me and the activities department are working on already is when course reps do finish their bingo cards, they kind of finish their bingo cards and they've got nowhere further to progress along their bingo cards. So something that I'm looking to do is once a course rep does finish their bingo card, they can then come and see me and work with the activities department to then put on a volunteering opportunity of their choice, whether it is cause or course related. It's totally up to them, and then we'll support them in creating that volunteering opportunity and finding volunteers to fill that opportunity for them and their peers. And then finally, I want to create more issue-based volunteering opportunities. So what we do at Students at the Heart of HUD at the moment is amazing, but it's only really engaging about 30 students at the weekend. So I want to put more issue and cause-related volunteering opportunities to engage more students to tap into that emotional connection that they have, which they need in order to volunteer. So if we put on more volunteering opportunities, such as going towards the seaside and clearing up plastic, that's something that students can really engage with and want to be a part of.
Thanks, Tom. Ornella?
Volunteering is one of my main points in my manifesto, and I also try to, at the same time, fuse my different points in my manifesto to make them work together. So I really think that, as he said, we don't have enough volunteering opportunities in university, or at least they don't happen as often in the year as they should, because volunteering is something that we can do in a week for an hour, and that's already making so much of a difference. Another problem in university is recycling. There are recycling and not recyclable bins, but there's lots of students that don't take care of that. And to be honest, I don't think just 2 options is enough. There's so many different ways of recycling that are possible. So one of my main aims is to create volunteer teams that are in charge of the recycling in Huddersfield. So the recycling would then be divided into bio food, which is basically like if you eat apples, and that can be, then later on be recycled, and made for like creating plants and creating a place where students can grow their own fruits, their own vegetables, have healthier food thanks to that, apart from learning from it. Then there will also be plastic and paper, which are actually 2 different recycling materials, which you can do so much when you have them separated, and then there are no more trash. On top of that, I plan to, I'm sorry, I need to drink.
Take your time.
On top of that, I plan to basically use what we do in Germany nowadays, which is basically in the student union, when you sell drinks, you sell every bottle, and then every student takes the bottle, they drink it all, and when they're done with it, they might refill it, but after a point, you can't keep refilling it because it's really bad for your health, actually, depending on the bottle. So what they do in Germany is like they make so that the bottle, when you buy it, it costs 20 more cents. What this does is that when you go back and you give it back, they give you back the 20 cents. So thanks to that, everyone is recycling the bottles. Why? Because they're paying for it. So when it's your money that's on the line, you are more careful about what you're doing. So basically, I hope to start everything in the student union, and then after it starts working, to take it out of the student union to another universities or even Huddersfield and build it nationally, because recycling is something really important that we need to take into account. And if there are other countries that are already doing it since years, then we can also do it. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ornella. Karen?
There are a lot of volunteer opportunities already at Huddersfield, and I highlight 2 issues as to why students aren't volunteering and why these numbers are, and why we aren't getting the numbers. One is because we need it to be something that students care about. And as part of my manifesto, I want to implement the career insight volunteering. So with this, it's focused onto your career, so you can gain insight into what your chosen career is like day to day, and what it involves. Because, like I said, I don't know what I want to go into in the future. If I had that opportunity to go and volunteer, gaining experience at the same time, engaging in the local community, I would then have a better understanding of what directing would have been like as a drama student. So I would have thought, well, would I want to go into this or not? So that's how we can increase volunteer numbers, by making it job specific and more focused to certain courses. And also, we have a lot of community students, like Maddie said, And another issue is that why would you travel on a weekend from Manchester to Huddersfield to volunteer? Why don't we have more volunteer opportunities in local communities where commute students live? Manchester, Leeds, Dewsbury, around them areas. Create more volunteer opportunities so students can gain the experience, but they don't have to travel 45 minutes into Huddersfield to get that experience.
Thanks, Karen. Maddie?
I do agree with Kieran with the concept of making our volunteer opportunities more career focused. I think that's incredibly important. My second year placement actually transformed from a volunteer position into placement where I replaced the person who was initially supervising me. And that's given me amazing experience to meet a lot of people and really create those contacts. And I think everyone should have access to opportunities like that. But I do think that the volunteering state that we have at this university is sad. It's not in a good state. I want to completely revitalize it. And I think that there's loads of local charities that we are not tapping into. Some that come to mind is like Music for the Deaf, which I know sounds a little bit different, but it's actually an incredible charity that allows people who are deaf to experience music for themselves. And this is only in Huddersfield. This is something that we could support as a university and bring to the light. There's so many others like that come to mind, especially like the Pennine Domestic Violence Group. They could receive so much more support from us. So it's groups like that I think that students have the opportunity to contribute to. And, you know, making sure that students have an option, a choice. Students aren't going to be here very long, especially our commuter students. They need something that fits into a certain time of day, so they have the opportunity to choose when they're volunteering and for what they're volunteering for. Because the issues that matter to us vary from person to person. So we should each have the opportunity to contribute to a charity or you know, any sort of issue that really matters to us as an individual. And I think Huddersfield has the potential to offer us that.
Thanks, Maddie. So now moving on the third part, we're gonna get some questions from the audience. Do any of you have a question? Okay, we got a question over here. And this time we're starting with Ornella.
I have a question about the housing and the containers you were talking about. I'm just a little bit confused because if we have like 50% like students versus the 100% of housing that we would have, you don't. Why do you think we need the containers? Like, why build more like things within the town versus getting, you know, the old stuff and maybe rebuilding that, the old housing and that kind of things in the places that are already available? Because it doesn't seem as environmentally friendly. I'm just a little confused.
Hi, sorry. Hi, I understand your question. The reason I thought about this was because there is a certain point to which we can reduce prices, or that Hatless will reduce prices, or that the landlords want to reduce the prices. So I wanted to think about a different alternative that would not have to do with like what would the landlords do, or what would the other housing people do. And I thought to take it more as like nationally, because I know that these container houses are helping so many people, and the reason why I suggested it is because it's really, really cheap to make them, and it's also possible to move them. So that means that every time, for example, we could even use it like as a trip kind of thing, or you could create like free spaces. Every time you would find a free space, you could move the housing, and that would just gives you like the liberty to basically put these container houses wherever you could actually find a free space, and it doesn't limit you to like for it to have to be in campus or have to be close in the city, because these containers can literally be in the middle of nowhere, and they can be warm enough and not cold enough, and you can have electricity. And yeah, I just wanted to get out of the box of what we already have and bring something new to the table.
Thanks, Ornella. Karen?
It was a specific question to Ornella. Do you want me to?
Do you want to comment on it, or?
I mean, I can if you.
It's up to you.
I don't think we need to be building more houses. Like Tom said, we have enough. rooms and enough space for students. I think the main issue here is bringing the prices of the housing down. Like I said, it can be done. Mine was reduced by £15 per week, and I know that it's doable. Hudlets are passionate about student housing, obviously, and yeah, we can definitely bring housing prices down. We don't need to build more. Sorry.
Thanks, Kieran. Maddie, do you want to comment?
On the same note, except one other addition is that I still feel that £90 a week is too much. I think that it should be lowered even more, because realistically, if you are a student supporting yourself on a single income, you're lucky to afford £75 a week. So I think that we really need to take a stand on this. We really need to communicate with landlords and say, you know, even this isn't acceptable. Work with us. Help our students find something that's affordable for them. And working with Hudlets to find more housing that is affordable for students would be something I would love to do. So that's my
Thanks,
comment.
Maddie. Tom?
Yeah, so repeating what I said, we've got more than enough houses, and due to the market there's quite little room for the pricing to be changed. Only the market can really decrease the pricing of the houses. So what I believe we should do is actually make students realise what they're actually paying for, so work towards the value of what they're paying for. So like I said, if we could create more homes rather than student houses, and kind of make landlords have a criteria of what must go in these houses to make them more valuable for what they are paying. So there are a lot of student houses that don't have dishwashers, yet there is maybe a student house which is cheaper that does have a dishwasher. Surely that doesn't make much sense. If we have houses which have living rooms to make them more homes, houses which provide a TV with their contract, houses which already have their bills included, making them much more valuable for how much you are paying for that house. So yeah.
Thanks, Tom. We got another question.
Hi guys, by the way, well done. Really good manifesto points. Just a question for Kieran, maybe for all of you as well. I remember reading a manifesto regarding something to do with nighttime angels. So I was wondering what that really entails. And yeah, if you explain a bit further on like student safety on nights out and stuff, because that really does bring the community in a bit further.
Yeah, so basically, Nighttime Angels is a team of volunteers. There's a lot of students who want to go into youth and community work and like marketing and things like that. And this is kind of a good opportunity for students to get involved in that volunteer opportunity. And basically what it is on popular student nights, so Monday and Wednesday nights, if your friends wanting to stay in a club and you're a bit drunk and you're walking by yourself through the town centre, that's really scary, especially for freshers as well, especially for international students. Members of the LGBT community, I'm gay myself, and yeah, it can be quite scary, it can be quite daunting. So the Nighttime Angels, it's a volunteer scheme, and what it is getting students to volunteer in pairs, in threes, on student nights, make sure students are safe, can get to taxi rank safe, get home safe, providing things like water if someone's too drunk, flip-flops so you don't have to take your shoes off and walk barefooted through Huddersfield Town Centre. It's all about student safety, making sure students are safe and can get home safe. That's Nighttime Angels.
Thanks, Kieran. Maddie, do you want to comment?
I think that that's a great idea, and it would be something I think I would definitely consider doing as well if I was elected. But something else that I've really noticed is just safety on campus as well. Having provisions for better lighting on campus would be something that would be really welcome by a lot of students. Because even walking around here can be kind of daunting, especially if it's late at night. But also I'd like to work with the local officer here to see about advised safe routes through the town, something that can be handed out to students in the beginning of the year so they know where's safe to walk, where are the brightest spaces to walk, what streets do you maybe want to avoid at night. So just, finding ways to give students advice on how to be safe and, kind of continuing on in that same note.
Thanks, Maddie. Tom?
Oh. Yeah, so I'll admit when I first got elected into this role back in July and August, I was a bit blind to how important safety was, but it was quickly brought to my attention not only by the university, the SU, but mainly by the students, and it was something that I knew that I had to pick up on. So one thing that I've tried really hard this year is to introduce the safe taxi policy. So it's not officially announced yet, but I can kind of announce it because it's kind of in place now. that we are working with GT Taxis and A1 Taxis, who are now partner taxi companies, part of our safe taxi policy, which means that if you are on a night out and you are on your own or you've got no funds or something like that, then you can get a taxi from either of these taxi companies, where you hand over your student card, they'll take a photo of the student card, you'll get a free taxi ride home, and then that taxi has to be paid at a later date. So there's no kind of implications at that time when you do desperately need a taxi. And if re-elected, I will continue to take this further, as I know we've got a lot of commuter students. A lot of them have their own preferred taxi companies in and around Huddersfield, so I want to try and put as many taxi companies on this safe taxi policy as possible. Alongside the safe taxi policy, it's kind of a little bit like Kieran's Nighttime Angels, but I sit on a committee at the moment called Pub Watch, which is a committee of all the managers and owners of all the bars and clubs in town. And on that committee, in the past month, we talked about funding taxi marshals. So if you went on nights out in around November, December time, you might have noticed when you're leaving the club, there were taxi marshals on the street helping students and local people get into taxis when they are a bit drunk and they don't know where to go. So what we want to do is crowdfund taxi marshals. So it was government funded at the beginning, but there's lost funding now. So we want all the bars and clubs to pitch in and fund for it. They've also asked if the Students' Union can fund for it, but I thought that we shouldn't necessarily fund for the taxi marshals to be in place on Fridays and Saturdays when they're not kind of the highly student populated nights out. But I'd happily kind of liaise with the SU and the university to fund taxi marshals on Monday and Wednesday nights when there are a lot of students in there, and that's our main concern. Carrying on with the safety, as Maddie said, lighting has become an issue and it's been brought up a number of times by students, mainly around the business school and the University Health Centre. Unfortunately, I've tried a lot this year to try and make that a lot more brighter working with the university, but we don't actually own that land, so it's not our place to put lights on it. So once re-elected, or whoever does get re-elected, if they do want to improve the lighting on campus, it'll be their job to work with Kirklees Council to get more lighting on that side of the canal, and work with the University Health Centre to try and ask them to make their University Health Centre brighter, more visible, and then increase the lighting on that side of campus.
Thanks, Tom. Ornella?
I agree with all three of them, and they all have like good points about what we could be doing. I also think another thing we should be tackling is, believe it or not, sexual assault. I know many cases of women and men that don't feel comfortable enough writing reports, saying their names, saying exactly everything that happened, or that are not comfortable with doing that, or that, you know, they don't trust anyone after a situation like that. And I think it's really important that we should have a place where not only like safe zones where people could just simply enter when they feel threatened at all, but also a way of reporting people in a way that you are not going to be the victim that everyone will know about, and you will become that center of attention, which is the reason why so many people don't report when something happens to them. And I also think that another way of preventing these things of happening is having lectures about sexual assault and when you're being violent and when the word no means no, because so many people are just not as aware as they should be. They don't know where to stop, they don't know where to draw that line. And I think it's important to the students that don't know that, to teach them that, because we are in university, so we are still supposed to keep learning and like also learn from our own actions. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thanks, Ornella. Any other questions? Okay, so now we're moving to the final part where each of you are gonna answer this question and say a final word. What makes you the best candidate? What makes you feel you are the best candidate? And I'm starting with Maddie.
I think that I have a really unique background that really would benefit this role. I'm an international student, so I directly understand what that's like. I've been in a variety of different cases of student housing. I've been a commuter student. I've been a community volunteer overall for 7 years. I have a really good link with the community, with Kirklees Council, so I can build these relationships with local businesses to help people with placements and to help them with volunteering opportunities. I've worked in the Students' Union for a year. I've helped students throughout MHM become better course reps and make really valuable changes on their courses. I think all of this combined and my passion for what I do, my passion for students and seeing change in the community happen, it makes me feel that if I was elected to this role, I would be able to do so much. I would be able to help people. And I can't think of anything better and more rewarding that I could do than help these students actually make change and feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. So thank you.
Tom?
Me? Yeah, so I think that I'm the best candidate for the role, partially because I'm the current community officer and I've been working so hard doing what I've been doing to try and make the best community of Huddersfield and the best university that we do offer. But the other part is that I just absolutely adore what I'm doing. I absolutely love this job right now and I'm not really ready to stop yet. So yeah, I've got so much more to give and so much more I want to do to make student life better for you guys that, yeah, that's why I feel like I'm the best for this role.
Thanks, Tom. Ornella?
The reason why I feel like I'm the best person for this job is because, as well as Maddie, I know what it's like to be an international student, to not feel integrated, and that really, trust me, that really helps you out to know how to feel, to make others feel integrated. It's just, yeah. And another thing is that I only in September started working and getting really involved in the university, in the student union mostly, and I think I made so much change and I met so many people and I delivered so many of those things in such a short time. So I honestly believe that in a whole year I could accomplish so many, if not all of my points in my manifesto that are more than 20 points, because I have the energy, I have the schedule. If you look at the schedule nowadays, you would see that from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. it's full. I always am doing stuff. I always have planned stuff, and I love it. That's the reason why I would vote for me, because I honestly love what I'm doing, and I know I can deliver, and I'm determined, and I will get it done and make the best job I could do. So, yeah.
Thanks, Ornella.
The reason you should vote me is because I'm realistic. I know we only have a year to implement the manifestos that we have, and I can go along and can promise you millions and millions of things, but will it get implemented? Probably not if I promise a million things. So the things I have in my manifesto are achievable, and we can do it. As I say, I've been part of accountability panels. I've held officers to account already. I know what it takes to be an officer. You elected me as your NUS delegate in 2017. You can elect me now to implement this manifesto, this realistic manifesto. And I'm a good listener, a very good listener. And I'm not going to start promising things on behalf of communities on campus when I've never been there in certain situations, so I can't speak for people. I'm going to listen to people, listen to what people need, what changes they want to see on campus, and that's what I'll implement as well. I'm a good listener, NUS delegate, vote Kieran Easter.
Well done, guys. Wish you all the best next week. And thank you everyone for coming today. Hopefully we're going to see you tomorrow for the education officer question session. And just a reminder that voting opens on website from 10 a.m. on Monday, 12th February till 4 p.m. on Wednesday, 14th February. And the results will be announced at Zetland next Thursday night. Thank you all.